So one of the things I heard you talk about was that there are grants being distributed through the organization that Pam Anderson is involved with. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, it's the Center for Tech and Civic Life. Now, you may recall that in 2020, Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, Priscilla Chan, made a charitable donation of, it ended up $330 million to the Center for Tech and Civic Life, a very small left-wing nonprofit organization in Chicago. And what they did is they distributed that money to 2,500 election offices around the country. 90% of the money went to jurisdictions that Biden won. 10% went to jurisdictions that Trump won. It was heavily loaded towards Democrat areas. And so Mark and Priscilla put their thumb on the scale by making a charitable donation to a nonprofit. Think about it. It's just like you're giving a donation to a church because they have the same tax status. Now, they're allowed to do voter registration and education through their tax status with the IRS, but they're not allowed to put their thumb on the scale as they did with the Zuckerbuck grants, as we called them in 2020. Well, along comes 2022. In 2022, Mark Zuckerberg said he was not going to make a donation again to CTCL or anyone for the 2022 midterms. But right after his announcement, CTCL announced that they were starting the U.S. Alliance for Election Excellence. And this was going to be funded by a new stream of funding called the Audacity Project. And the main backers behind that one is Bill Gates, and I guess it's his former wife now, but Bill Gates and other high-tech donors. And what the Alliance wanted to do, it took and formed 8 partners with CTCL. By the way, Pam Anderson is also on the board at CTCL. This is the organization that distributed the Zuckbucks and is now forming the Alliance for Election Excellence.
Is she still on that board of the new organization?
Yes, on Center for Tech and Civic Life. And so they have 8 partners, I believe it's 8, all left-wing. One's a for-profit consulting firm, the rest are nonprofits. And what they're doing is their goal is to form an alliance of 6,000. Now remember, Zuckbucks was 2,500. They want to form an alliance of 6,000 election officers around the country. In some cases, they're going to give them monetary grants unless the state has banned them. And they're going to encourage all of them to join the alliance. Now, 24 states have banned the grants. 6 other states' legislature banned them, but the governors vetoed them. So where it's allowed, they're going to give grants. Where it's not allowed, they're going to offer the membership. We believe the membership is the worst part of the alliance because what happens is the election official now joins the alliance by paying a membership fee. They used to have a scholarship to cover it, but we think they may have gotten rid of that. And then with the membership fee, they get credits with these other left-wing nonprofits for services. Those services are, designing websites, election administration, different forms that they can use, et cetera, getting involved in the administration of the elections with the left-wing agenda. Now, the reason I know that is in Connecticut, Greenwich, Connecticut, which is a deep blue state, they were offered $500,000 by the alliance and to join the membership. Well, there was pushback from the grassroots, and a lot of people are fed up with this and don't want billionaires from any party influencing our elections. If the election people need funds, it should come from the taxpayers. Our taxpayers should pay for our elections. Anyway, in Greenwich, the registrars, as they call them, your clerks, were getting pushback. So what they did, they set up a Zoom call and invited folks to tell us about how great the alliance was. They got a election official from Utah. They got one from Michigan, all of whom had received grants, Illinois, and joined the alliance. And then Pam Anderson, formerly from, I believe it's Jefferson County, where she was the clerk, Colorado, was going to tell us about how wonderful the Center for Tech and Civic Life is and the work that they do. Now, here's what they do. In the early part of the year, they offer free training to election officials all over the country. And that's how they create a relationship with whatever you want to call them, clerks, registrars, local election officials. And then they communicate with them this year and last about this new alliance. And so what Pam Anderson told us, and she really told us exactly what they're up to, they're not involved in politics at all. They could care less about politics. They're involved in process. And by that, she means vote by mail, early voting, drop boxes. They've said in their literature that they'll help out with ranked choice voting. So there's a whole left-wing agenda that they're presenting through the alliance. And incredibly, she talked about it as she presented the case for the alliance. And so she's on two boards that are very important in the left-wing nonprofit world. The Center for Tech and Civic Life, from Zuckbucks in 2020 to the alliance that started in 2022, and then the Center for Election Innovation and Research, which is the organization that shares information with ERIC, or the Electronic Registration Information Center. And that's what I know about her involvement now. Supposedly, these organizations are nonprofit, but if you look at their funding, which goes back to this massive left-wing charitable donation operation with the likes of Soros and Zuckerberg and Pierre Omidyar, the gentleman who started eBay and runs an organization called Democracy Fund, you see the same stream of financing. And then you look at the boards, and it's all the same people with the same agenda on all the boards.